What's going on, y'all? This is your girl, Bree Undeniably, checking in for another episode of my speaker series, Deep Conversations with Dope Individuals, where we're discussing development, decision-making, and a dedication to purpose. Today, as always, I'm here with another super dope individual. Really excited to introduce this guest to the audience. But before I do, we're going to do a couple quick shout outs. First and foremost, if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening wherever you get your podcasts, shout out to Gotham Podcast Studio. They are the ones hooking it up with the space, with the audio and the visual, the team. They've got everything. Super appreciative. They're amazing. So shout out to Gotham. Actually, they are now Gotham Production Studio. So I am correcting myself there. Shout out to Gotham. Second, shout out to MC Kicks. If you have not checked out MC, you can find them at EMCEEKICKS. That is their Instagram and all their social profiles. If you add a .com, you're going to land on their website. This is where you can get all your customizable merch, streetwear, whatever you like. So they have a custom artist who can really do anything. She does custom kicks, custom denims. Their whole team's amazing. They supported me since day one. So please go check them out. That's at EMCEEKICKS. And finally, if you are doing your own thing, you got to pump yourself up. So if you have not checked out my website, that's BreeUndeniably, .com, then please go check it out. Aside from podcasting, you'll see everything else that I've got going on there. So that's speaking engagements, workshops. It's also the podcast tour that I'm doing. So other than hosting my podcast, I appear on others' podcasts, as well as some counseling work I'm doing there, workshops, again, trainings, everything that you want, all right there. So check that out. Also, if you want some dope individual merch or I Am Possible gear, it's all right there on my page. So check that out, BreeUndeniably.com. All right. So we are here. And I am super excited to introduce Lee Hopkins. Lee, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Bree.
I am super excited to have you here. It's always an honor to bring guests on and hear their stories. I know that there's always a level of vulnerability in sharing your story. So I'm so excited to have you here, have you share your story. And I'm really excited to get into it.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, of course. I'm going to give you the introduction that you deserve, and then we're going to jump in. So, Coach Lee Hopkins is a transgender man who helps people create lasting friendships. After struggling with loneliness most of his life, he's tried various ways to resolve it, including moving across the U.S. to find his tribe and fit in. He's learned that the key to creating meaningful relationships is not fitting in or finding your tribe. It's about attracting your vibe. He'll show us how this is possible for everyone. Oh, I love it already. Lee, again, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And let's get into it. So the way that I like to really start all the podcasts in the counseling community, we like to meet our clients where they're at. It's really important. It helps you sort of get on the same page. And I think it's actually a great technique for podcasting. So I like to help listeners meet you where you're at. So if you wouldn't mind helping us meet you where you're at right now.
All right. So you mean share my story and how I got here?
You know, you can take that question however you want, but if it doesn't incorporate your whole story, then we'll jump back in there. But just you can tell us a little bit more about yourself or wherever you want to take that question. Please feel free.
Oh, see, that's wonderful. I love that. I love that. Start where I am. And so I want to share with you, how I got to where I am today.
Please.
So first, I started, I grew up in a small town in Ohio. Okay. And I felt very disconnected with the people there. I thought that, they were the problem and that I was doing everything right. And that's kind of how I got into coaching, like searching for people who could fit my vibe, who fit my tribe. I was always told, and I'm sure I'm not the only person, was told that, hey, you need to go find your people. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, I need to leave my city. I did that. I went to college, had an opportunity to go to college. And there I met a whole new group of people from different states, different cultures, backgrounds. And it was so amazing. It was fantastic. But I still felt like I was lonely. I still felt disconnected. I still felt like I couldn't find those people. Mm-hmm. So like, no big deal. No big deal. The entire state of Ohio is broken. It's wrong. I need to leave Ohio. That's what I thought. So I had an opportunity to leave. and moved to California. And there I was presenting as female. It's important to note that I was presenting as female at this time too. And I've come out as a lesbian. So that's how I was living my life. So I'm thinking, well, I'm living my authentic self. I'm going to make the friendships with the right people. I started doing karaoke, found that I loved it. And I met a whole lot of people on the scene. And I was like a mini celebrity. People would know who I was and they give me high fives after my songs and stuff like that. I felt like I was part of something. But then I discovered that I still felt lonely. I still felt very, very lonely and disconnected. And so I figured, well, again, I picked the wrong state to live in. The entire state of California is broken and I need to leave California. And I had an opportunity to move to Chicago. And in Chicago, I figured this is the second largest city, or the third largest now, I think. But the second largest city, I'm going to find the right people. I have to. I mean, it's a large, huge city. And I find people who are, who really help me understand more about myself. So all this time, I'm thinking that there's still something that I'm not showing or sharing with people. And that is me being trans. So I come to Chicago, where I am now, and I find the right group of people who give me the information, who give me the support, who give me the guidance to help me transition from female to male. And I thought, this is it. I'm going to be my authentic self in this brand new place where no one knows me. I got to find my tribe. I'm going to find my people. And sure enough, Bree, I find myself just being lonely and stuck and feeling like no one likes me. So that was my whole journey. And then with that journey, I discovered that there was an important piece of me that I was hiding, or there was something that I was doing. And it wasn't anything that I discovered all by myself. The biggest thing I realized is that I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know why this was happening. I thought, well, it's all these people and has nothing to do with me. Until I went to find counseling, group counseling, and discovered, well, I have more power than I think. I have more say than I know. It's not all the people that I just happen to run into that are bad luck. There's something that I'm doing. So that's where, so I discovered that, man, I like this feeling of knowing more about me and making connections. So I have to share with everybody. And that's how I became my coach. Became a coach. I discovered that it wasn't just everybody else. There was something that I could do. And I think this is valuable information for other people to know.
Oh, Lee, first and foremost, thank you so, so much for opening up, sharing these parts of your story. I mean, I have so many questions and just so much that I want to dig into. But there's a few things that I want to point out first. One, this feeling of loneliness. The feeling of loneliness, I'm hearing you speak on it and speak transparently on it. And it's so powerful because it's something that so many people experience and don't necessarily have the words or the courage or the place in life yet to speak on it. And that could be because it's still a part of the experience and they're trying to push through it, as it seems like you were moving to different places looking for this tribe. But I commend you for speaking on that topic specifically, because loneliness can really take so much of us away from us. It can be a sad and scary and dark and lonely, for lack of a better words, place. So, just hearing that as sort of this theme through your story, again, is really, I think it's important to point out, because what I'm hearing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it was actually two things that I think that you might have combined, and it was finding yourself, so no longer being lonely within yourself, and also no longer being lonely outside of yourself, not finding your tribe necessarily, but realizing that you had the power to influence others through coaching or helping. Am I getting that?
Well, yes, yes.
Okay.
I believe that it's the discovery of yourself that really helps you connect with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that I'm over there looking for myself outside of others, outside of myself, looking
Right.
for appreciation or looking for someone to say, hey, you're awesome, something like that. I got that. But man, I didn't feel it.
Mm.
And it was because I needed to do the super cliche thing to love myself and learn how to do that. But how do you do that? That's what the journey is about. How do you understand what it really means to love yourself? And that's what I want to share with other people.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm excited for you to, push into that space a little bit more with us and with this audience, because I know that's something everyone is always searching for. Whether, at some point in life, we have to find a way to love ourselves. It really is a key that opens up all of the other doors in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so tricky too, because I share my story about being trans because it's familiar to me.
Mm.
It's familiar to me, but it's also familiar to other people. Like I know that trans people are maybe 1% of the population, right? Everybody doesn't understand that exact experience, but they do know what it means to feel like if I am not this and I become that, then my whole life is going to change.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't true. I still had some things to understand about myself deep down inside. No matter what I did, I moved from town to town. I came out as a lesbian. I moved again from another city or state to a town, another state, right? And then within that, I met people and I thought, well, if I meet this milestone, if I meet that milestone, then I'll be happy. I'll be my authentic self. I'll be this, I'll be that. And that's just not true. And so the target seems to move. It seems to move from what you really need in your life to what you really need in your life. And I discovered that I really needed my own self-acceptance, understanding that who I am is it's just okay. And discovering, so what I tell my clients, or how I help my clients discover themselves, is by setting boundaries. And I learned that boundaries are just a way to say no, setting limits, but that's not true. I want to reframe the way we look at boundaries and the way we think about boundaries, because it's not just keeping things out. We're looking for what we don't want, what we don't want, what we don't want. It's about what we want, saying yes to ourselves. It's about who we are as individuals. And these boundaries, this is our life journey. These boundaries aren't things that come in a manual that are like, well, you like this and you like that. And because you like these things, your life is going to be that way. No, it's about understanding what you feel in a moment when you have an experience. Boundaries, I like to say, are happy accidents. We run into things, we have an emotional experience. We have an emotional experience about some event. We log that event and we categorize them into what I call your needs, negotiables, and your nevers.
Oh,
right there.
Okay.
Yeah. So their needs, these are actions, specific actions and behaviors that you need to have in your life. They're usually a joyous event. You log that. This is joyous. Then there are your negotiables. There are things that you can take or leave. It doesn't really quite matter to you. It's not going to change the way you behave with another person so much that you don't want to be with them. And then there are your nevers. These are specific actions and behaviors that you never want to experience again. And that is the journey of becoming yourself, like understanding who you are and what you want, because you know what you need, what you can negotiate, and what you never want to have again. It's important to know that. That is what helped me connect with other people, because I knew what I wanted. I knew what I didn't want. Those are important to note.
So awesome. I mean, I'm just like so into this conversation right now, talking about the way that you describe boundaries, and with that, the needs, negotiables, the nevers. There's just there's so much I want to touch on. Let me pick out a couple pieces. First and foremost, you said with boundaries, boundaries are not about saying no. They are about saying yes to yourself. And I love that because it really is that total deframe and then reframe. You know, we think of a boundary as the wall blocking, not letting things in or out or whatever the case may be. And it's not that. Mm-hmm. It's not about the negative. We're not talking about the negative things that we don't want. We're setting clear on what we do want and what we do need. So I love that you said that. And that goes into sort of the needs part, right? The needs, negotiables and the nevers. So, you know, I want everyone who's listening to really take this in, because that is something that is super powerful, really, really helpful. And being able to work with reframing our boundaries, our thoughts in moments like this, as Lee said, are going to bring us to that next understanding of us. And I love how for you, it's sort of like this triad that allows us to continue to understand ourselves. Because now I guess I have a question. These needs, negotiables, and nevers, is there a set list, or can we keep discovering them and keep discovering things about us?
Well, we definitely. That's a great question, honestly, because the boundaries, they also sound like they should be rigid and they should stay. Once you find them, they should stay where they are. And that's just not true, because we are growing and we're changing, and that's the only constant is changing. Mm-hmm. So how you may feel about something that you needed before, you may feel like you never want to have again. And the key to that is what we call mindfulness these days. Mm-hmm. Being mindful of these boundaries that you run into and how you feel about it. All of a sudden, you run into a boundary or have an experience that was a need before, but all of a sudden it becomes a never. Oh, you want to log that. You want to pay attention to that. What happened in the scenario? What happened? What did you change? Did your experiences change? What happened? And so those boundaries can always change with you. And it's all about just being mindful of how that has changed, and then making that connection with another person by sharing what has changed for you.
It's so rich. The discussion is so rich. And I actually, I want to ask a little bit of a personal question that's tying this discussion to your story. So when you talk about your story, you talked about going from, state to state, sort of piece to piece in your life, moment to moment in your life. And you were definitely, I don't know if it's that you were met with or you decided that it was something that you wanted to do, but you chose to go through some very challenging moments, I can imagine, with coming out as lesbian and then coming out as trans and going through that transition. Were these needs for you? Were they incremental needs to sort of bring those pieces of you to the world? Or is there maybe another way for me to understand and think about that?
Oh, yeah. So that's a really good question, because, I've been told that you need to be your authentic self, and, loving yourself is also being open and being don't be ashamed of who you are, essentially. And I would say, like, reflecting on that it was really important for me to open up, because I thought that was it. I believe that the thing that causes us to be lonely is that we have something that is really deeply, deeply important to us. But we're also very afraid to share that with other people, because we're going to be ridiculed, because we're going to be laughed at, because we're going to be hurt, because we're going to be told that we shouldn't be that thing, right? And so throughout my life, I identified some of the things that I was told I should not be, and I was hiding those things. So I thought, well, if I just share them, if I share being a lesbian, then the burden of hiding will be over, and then I can attract the people I want. And I did that when I transitioned as well. The burden of hiding will be over, and then I can be who I want. But as soon as I did those things, I found something else. As soon as I released that burden, I found another burden to hide under me. I found myself, let's say, for example, in groups of people who were not people of color. And so I had to hide any expression of what it meant to be Black to me because I was in a group of people. Not that they told me that they had to, not that they told me that I had to. It was just I put myself in that position where I was just unable to be my authentic self. No matter what I did to share, no matter what I thought I could do to open up, I put myself in a position where I had to shut myself down again. And that was because I was afraid of rejection. So one of the things it's a personal quick story, in therapy, I learned that, well, that's one of the things that might be happening. Why don't you go open up and see what happens? You're afraid of rejection. Basically, that's what I learned. You're afraid of rejection. So I go to a comedy club and I work on my mindset. I'm like, I'm going to go and meet this cool person. I don't know who they are, but we're going to have conversation. It's going to be great. I'm going to make a friend tonight. Sure enough, I meet somebody cool. I talk to him. We're having a beer and they tell me how they have never met a trans person before. They don't understand the process. They don't know why anybody would want to transition. And I thought, bro, this is it. Bree, this is it. This is it. This is everything I thought I was going to have. So I'm going to open up. I'm going to be my authentic self. I'm going to wow the heck out of this guy. We're going to be best friends. So I start talking. I tell him, face freezes. He eyes bug out, jaw drops. No more words are said to me. He puts his beer down and he's gone. Boom, gone. Nothing. I'm just like, wow. Well, if that isn't rejection at the fullest in your face, everything that I was afraid of was going to happen, it happened to me. And fortunately, I had a group of people that I could share this with and I could process this information with. But it was everything that I was running from. It was everything that I was believing that would happen. It just happened to me physically in front of my face, undeniably, unimaginative. It was just there. And I realized that it was okay. The only thing that happened was that I realized that I just wasn't connected and I wasn't paying attention to what they were saying to me. Now that I've processed it and had time, I understand that, man, they were just not ready for that. And if I was paying attention, I was more connected and tuned to what they were saying. It should have been a slower process, or maybe something that I didn't have to reveal to them at all and meet them where they're at, right? They didn't know anything about trans. They didn't understand the process. And in that moment, they were just having a beer, not interested in learning about the process, never asked about it, none of that stuff. So I learned that, that's an experience that I may never want to have again, but I have to be in tune to that. I have to be in tune to what I'm sharing and where other people are, and realizing that, okay, rejection is going to happen, but I can still meet other people who are interested in me. It's not the end of the world.
Yes. Oh, I'm hearing you say this and I'm thinking, because I do a lot of work with feelings specifically in mental health. So it's what I'm always asking questions about and looking into and love learning about. And so I'm hearing that you learned about your fear of rejection. But then it seems like in this moment, there was, fear is natural, but emotions are natural. Emotions happen. They regularly arise and, wash away as they come and go. And, we don't have control over the emotion. We have control over the emotional response. And what I think is so awesome that I'm hearing is that you processed this moment, but it seems like you're able to at least replace the fear with an understanding. I don't know exactly what the feeling replacement was, but it seems like your fear of rejection transitioned into an understanding of this moment of rejection doesn't mean that you are rejected by everyone and everything. It was just a moment of rejection that it seems like you were able to push past in reframing what that was to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, I really had support to help me see that, because I believed that that was going to be it. That was rejection is the worst thing of all time, and that I will always be unloved if somebody outwardly, I laugh at it now because I just know it's not true.
Yeah, I know.
But outwardly rejected, that means I'll be rejected for my entire life. No, it's an understanding of, well, we don't have that connection. We didn't have that connection at that time. And maybe they've grown and changed into something else. So we understand that, well, I understand that, well, I'm still going to be me. Even though this person doesn't quite connect with me or understand me or want to know me, I'm still going to be me.
Yeah.
And I like me.
Oh, the beauty of truly inherently deep down to your core loving yourself can change everything. It can change
absolutely.
everything. Oh man. And I'm just thinking again, when we have a fear of something that is so large, or it can feel so large, for you, it was rejection. For some, it's vulnerability. For some, it might be, the fear of the unknown. I mean, there's a lot of sort of really big fears that we can have, but all of those things, with support, with help, with people who can offer you feedback and help you sort of move through those moments, we're able to make them a lot smaller. We're able to sort of decentralize what they are to us in our lives and understand that one moment is not eternity, or, stepping into vulnerability, even though it might feel so incredibly scary, if that is the fear that you face, it doesn't mean that you will be in vulnerability forever. You can do these things moment by moment. You can break them down and make them smaller and more manageable and learn how to understand them and work with them, because rejection, as was your fear, rejection is out of our control. So it's not something that we can make go away. So instead, in the spirit of reframes, we have to figure out how to be able to be okay with it when it does arise. Right.
And I also, in the spirit of reframing, that's where our boundaries come in, and thinking about what our boundaries are, because we are going to reject other people. And when we have this understanding of that, it's not really about them.
Right.
It's about what's best for me. I said yes to myself.
Yes.
Not no to you. I said yes to myself. And when you understand that you have to do that to people so that you can feel whole, then you don't really take it personally when you have to do it or when it happens to you. It hurts, but you understand why that happened. And you also start to understand why it's also good for you, because you don't want to take your energy and chase down somebody who is not on your level, who's not interested in you, and say, hey, wait. Hey, great guy. I'm trans, but I'm really cool. We just had such a great conversation, and you just need to know all these things and change your entire belief system so that we can be friends. Neither of us wants to do that. Neither of us wants to do that.
And you're speaking to something like we can laugh about it in this moment, but like this is something that we face often. Very often we will chase something that we think is going to create this wholeness in us, or create this, sort of build us up in some way, when looking outside of yourself is never going to fill the inside of yourself. It's just not. You can, with community, and there are ways to sort of bolster and cushion and make the inside of yourself feel comfortable and warm. But when you're seeking something outside of yourself to help fulfill something inside of yourself, it's mathematically, if I was to put this in an equation, they don't equate. They don't equal each other. You just can't do it. It's just, right?
Right.
Got to map that out somehow.
I like that. It doesn't match. It doesn't work.
It just doesn't match. Oh man, I had a question. I went on a tangent. It might float back to me. We'll see. But let's kind of stay in this space for a second, and let's dive a little bit more into the saying yes to us. This actually, my question came back to me, it came back in thought. So the saying yes to us, you had just mentioned again, we talked about in the beginning, and again, we're really sticking with the spirit of reframes, but I want to really know your thoughts on this selfless versus selfish ideal, and how maybe this saying yes to us, how we can reframe that so that feels comfortable as human beings to put ourselves front and center. Is it? Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know if that's something that you've worked with, but it came to my mind, the selfless versus selfish, and I just want to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, what I understand about selfishness is this idea that you will always do things that is best for yourself, regardless of what happens to other people around you. That's what I understand about selfishness. Mm-hmm. And selflessness is this idea that you will give up your needs to make sure that other people's needs are met. That's what I understand about the two. And I am going to be controversial maybe here.
That's okay.
And say that I don't believe selflessness is a thing. It doesn't exist to me in my world, because we always do things that will benefit ourselves. And even in the case of selflessness, if we say that we want to give up our needs for someone, well, I've done that a whole lot my entire life. Is be like essentially a doormat with no boundaries. And I would give up what I thought I needed, the space I needed, or the space I thought that if I did this thing for someone, then I would benefit. I would still benefit because they would be happy, and I would be happy because they're happy. And that's the way I think selflessness is. It is selfish, but you just do it in a different way. You're talking about how you want to, you behave in the way that you want to put other people before you, but that is the benefit that you get, the satisfaction of putting another person before you. And you may get upset with the selflessness because, well, people aren't responding in the way you think they should respond. And that's trouble that I've run into. So when I think about selflessness and selfishness, I think we're always being selfish. It's just the world's kind of reframing it and looking at it in a different way than what we really were saying. I think selflessness is just an ideal that makes it easier for people who aren't getting their needs met to say, well, I'm a good person. And I think, see, there's where I go, like, this is controversial, but I think we're all just good people and we're having our experiences. And that's it. I think you're a good person, whether you're selfish or you're selflessness, because you're just doing the best that you can.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Oh, I love that explanation. And I think it's just so unique. I'm kind of thinking like, the first thing that's coming to mind hearing you speak is that you can't pour from an empty cup. It's right. That you can't pour from an empty cup. So, though, selflessness, whether we think it's coming from a selfish place or we think we are being wholehearted and, just giving all of ourselves to someone else or some other cause for the greater good, whatever it might be, you can't give yourself when you're not full yourself. You can't, whoever is getting those parts of you, they're actually getting the smallest, less, I don't even know the word, but like the least parts of you, because you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to be able to put yourself and position yourself front and center in your life. You have to be able to meet your needs. And that selfishness, we really do need a full, massive reframe, a full shakeup in the world to understand that, selfishness is not negatively connotated. You putting you as the star of your story and living your authentic life and living out your purpose and passion and fulfillment in life is not selfish in the way that our world sees it. It's so selfish to me, and I believe to us that we're kind of working out here is, being able to put yourself front and center without feeling guilty that you aren't putting others before yourself.
Right on. That's very well said. I really like that. That's very well said. It's all about, you feeling comfortable with what you're doing.
I love it. All right. Well, Lee, we are winding down. I've got a few extra questions. We're going to kind of transition into the sort of last phase of the podcast. I actually just mentioned it really quick, and I know I spoke with you about it previously, but I just want to jump in a little bit to your thoughts on purpose. Purpose, where does that fit into a human's life? Do you ever do work with purpose in coaching or anything like that? Just what are your thoughts around purpose?
Yes, that's a pretty deep question. Yeah. And of course, that's why it's in the title.
Deep conversations.
Yeah. Okay, so a purpose is something that I've been searching for my entire life. And it's something that I'm not going to say that you land on at any given time. What it looks like to me is purpose is that you have an experience just for the sake of feeling and being in that experience. Mm-hmm. So I've been searching for meaning and purpose outside of myself with making friends and being loved and being supported in a way that I didn't know that was possible, or that I didn't do for myself. And throughout that, I can reflect on the experiences that I've had of moving, breakups, makeups, and fights, and things that I've had with people and things that I've felt. And I believe that the purpose of us is to just have our experience, recognize how we feel about our experience, and move on. And that seems so short, right? It seems so short. Wow. But when I started to practice that, and there's some gratitude and stuff that also can be practiced with it, reflection on it, this meditation and journaling, which are buzzwords these days, but it's so important for when it comes to your purpose. So then you know what your boundaries are, because you have had this experience and you kind of reflected, you categorize them, and now you know who you are. You say yes to who I am, and you continue going through the world saying yes to what I like or no to what I don't want. And you have these experiences where you continue to reflect on that. So that's why you change so much. So your purpose is to just continue learning more about yourself and having more experiences. And I share that with people. It's like, well, if you really enjoy something, then make sure you go do it. Don't spend the time thinking about how you wish that you could have done something. Go ahead and do it. See how you feel about it. And then we can categorize that and reframe, try again, do it again. And sure enough, you're going to have some wonderful experiences that if you're mindful of, you won't miss.
Wow. Oh, I love that so much. That might be one of the most unique definitions of purpose that I'm really, right now I'm just really internalizing it, because I love that so much. And in my express version in my head, I'm kind of hearing you say, purpose, your purpose is to continue becoming.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah. They're short, they're sweet, and to the point. It is exactly what I mean.
Oh, I'm glad I got that. I love that so much. I think that is so powerful, so spot on, and like I said, so unique from the other definitions of purpose that I've got. So thank you for that.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Of course. So we just have a couple of minutes left. We're going to do a rapid fire, and then I'm going to leave you the floor for any final words that you want to leave listeners with, and then you can let everyone know where they can find you. So at the beginning of the podcast, we talked about 3 pillars: development, decision-making, and a dedication to purpose. We for sure fired away on all 3 of them. I mean, I loved this conversation so much. I feel like I learned so much. I know our listeners are learning a ton. That's what these 3 questions are going to be on, real quick, rapid fire. So the first question is on development. Currently, right now, in this moment in your life, do you feel like you're working more on personal development or professional development?
Personal development.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you know, it's so funny because a lot of people will stop and think about it and then be like, oh, I'm not sure. But I believe that they're so intertwined anyway. So that personal development really just plays right into everything else. Okay, this next one's on decision making. I'm going to ask the question, give you a little bit of an explanation. So when it comes to making decisions in your life, do you find that you follow more choice, meaning numbers or analytics, or guiding voice, meaning gut feeling, spirituality, intuition, or something else of the sort? Choice or guiding voice?
I would say guiding voice. I like the guiding voice. Yeah, just kind of go with the flow and see what the experience will take. Where the experience will take me.
It's really the follow the feeling path. Follow the feeling. All right, this last one, this trips me up as much as it will trip up any of my guests. So you don't need to think too hard on it, but I am super interested in purpose. It's something that has always intrigued me, that I've really made the foundation of this podcast. And I question, is purpose something that we are, short question, is purpose nature or nurture? Is it something that we're born with, or is it something that we sort of grow into based on life experience?
I think it's something we grow into based on life experience, because that's my experience with it.
Yeah,
so it seems to be true for me. Yeah.
All right. Lee, now is your time. Please, you've already filled this space with such powerful insight, but please leave listeners with any final thoughts that you have, and then let everyone know where they can find you so that they can reach out, get in touch, see what you're doing.
Bree, this was such a wonderful time. I really appreciate the questions, thought-provoking questions, especially the ones at the end. It was really a fabulous time just chatting with you. And I am so honored to be here. So I just want to share, though, that with everyone, that your experience is not unique, right? So we're going through everything. We're always going through something. And to connect with other people who have your experience is going to be life-changing for you. So I hope that you'll consider opening up and sharing those things that you were always afraid of, that you always were afraid of to share, that might get you rejected, because it has landed me here. Doing that for me has landed me here, talking to Bree and sharing my story with you. And I find so much joy in that. And I hope that you'll find joy when you share and connect with other people. So you can find me at patternsofpossibility.com/more possibilities. There I have a free course, Understanding Connections. And I also have 10 tips to making meaningful conversations. Again, you can find me at patternsofpossibility.com. And you can find me on all social media at Patterns of Possibility.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I will be sure to put all of that in the show notes as well, so you'll know exactly where to find Lee. Lee, it was an incredible pleasure. I, again, feel honored to have you on the show. I'm so excited for listeners to send their feedback. I know I will get it, and I know this could be a life-changing episode. So thank you so much again, Lee Hopkins, everyone. And until next time, let this be the moment.